Our next question comes from Muhammad Hassan Uthman Kutigi from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for your question. There's a bit of a narrative to his question, so I'll just sort of run through this. His question is that on occasion a young married couple wakes up and for some reason the wife asks her husband that she found it difficult to believe how a man could actually divorce his wife and how it would feel like and how it would appear. So for some reason she then asks him to write down one example and to construct almost a fictitious divorce letter. After that particular occasion had passed and this letter was almost cast aside, and he says that the sister of the wife then sees the letter and takes it to the parents. The parents read the letter and reach the conclusion that the gentleman has actually divorced his wife because they have evidence with this letter. Dr. Saba, I don't know if you've come across such a case in your experience as president of Qazar Board, but this is one for you, I'm sure.
Surprisingly enough, things close to this do occur in reality. So I can see that the questioner may be on lines which do actually happen in real life. And I think the moral of the story is that you should obviously not put onto paper which can be used as evidence, which possibly was not the intention of when it was written. That's the most important thing, I think, in all aspects of life in general, and in this in particular as well. But as far as divorce and talaq is concerned, it should never be trivialized. You know, it is such a grave matter. It is permissible, but is very much disliked in Islam, and therefore in these aspects one has to be very careful as to what one is doing at that stage. However, in this particular scenario, there are a number of conditions that can be considered. The first and foremost in Islam is innamal a'malu binniyat. Deeds are judged by their motives. And if the motive in this was just to write it as an example and not the intention to divorce the wife, then it can never be accepted that this was a legal divorce that had been given by the husband to the wife. On top of that, Islam actually has very many guidelines about the validity of divorce and talaq that is given. And one of them is that it has to be given by the husband in a good state of his mind, that he has to be in full control of his faculties, and the wife has to be in a pure state at that period that it has been to be given. So it may be that these conditions have not been fulfilled by the husband writing that, because that was not his intention and the state of mind may not have been correct, but he was actually going along the lines of what his wife was asking him to do. So it was not given on his own back, but of that of his wife. On top of that, in Islam, talaq has this cooling off period, which is the most important thing. It gives him 3 months in which obviously they can reconcile through arbitration within their families, and the husband and the wife can come together. So if this divorce letter has been found and it is not the intention of the husband to divorce his wife, then of course he has the ability to take that back and to maybe write a formal document to say that if this is to be perceived as a formal talaq, take it back in any case, and therefore we are husband and wife in that respect. So therefore Islam has given us all these limitations and capacities that we are able to stop it at whatever stage that we need to, if that is what the intention is. But the other thing that comes to mind is talaq sometimes can be perceived to be a very easy accomplishment in Islam by pronouncing talaq and allowing 3 months to undertake, the talaq is becoming final. Now this was a custom that was happening in the time of Hazrat Umar, that the companions were making it very, very easy to give talaq, knowing that they could always take the wife back within the 3-month period, or afterwards by having a new nikah performed, then they could still be married. Now Hazrat Umar, in order to stop that being taken too lightly, actually said that I will take this as a talaq, and that you will not be able to go back to your wives as a punishment for you in this instance. So therefore that was done by Hazrat Umar as a temporary measure to stop people taking it too lightly and making mockery out of it. So this is what this is too, and in all aspects of talaq it has to be something that has to be thought out, has to have valid reasons for it, and there are limitations that are put by Islam in order so that it does not progress to that aspect that talaq becomes final and the husband and wife are then divorced. So this is what Islam lays down categorically for us, and even in this case there are those things that can be considered, and that talaq would not be considered a valid talaq in that instance as this had been given.
Jazakumullah, Dr. Saab. I suppose there's the obvious one as well, that both the husband and wife, as you know, the two parties would present themselves and say, well, actually that was never the intention either of the husband or indeed the wife in receiving that. But as you said, it's...
yes, I'm sure that if we had appeared before Qaza Board, they would not simply accept just a mere writing as, you know, evidence of divorce. The truth is, in Islam, like he has said, you have rules and regulations. Both of them are required to make sure that if there are any misunderstandings, they should settle the misunderstandings by themselves. When that fails, then the parents are brought in, because they were the people who stood in, you know, surety for the marriage to be performed. So they also come in, they try also to settle the matter. If that fails, then they go to the mission, you know, the community where the nikah was performed. All these are ways and means of making sure that divorce is not taken in triviality, like our brother was saying. And then it is after all this that it comes to the Qaza Board. And then after the Qaza Board have tried as much as they can to bring them together, there is no reconciliation. It is then that the 3 months period is also put. Then the man and the woman will have to stay together in the same house, because it is considered that during that time there might be a possibility of reconciliation. So Islam has all those rules and regulations. It takes a very, very long time to go through all that. And nobody is divorced just by writing a letter. It's not done.
Gentlemen, Jazakumullah, and Muhammad Hassan Saab, Jazakumullah, and thank you for your question as well. And I'm sure you'll agree with me, it's been comprehensively dealt with.